Welcome to the Cheer Athlete. This week on the podcast, we're going to talk about sacrifice and the sacrifices that cheerleaders have to make to do their sport, to do what they want to be able to do and to be able to progress. And a little bit about what you coaches and parents need to sacrifice as you continue to coach and you drive your kids along the way. So let's get with it. Welcome to the Cheer Athlete Podcast, where we bring coaches, parents, and athletes expert tips and advice to help keep cheerleaders healthy, strong, and at the top of their game. Now let's go. So yesterday I got home from work, and I got a phone call after dinner time, and I was sitting around. I was really comfy, cozy, and I got a phone call that I had to take my dad to the emergency room because he was having a complication from a surgery that he had last week. Bottom line, he's okay. But we didn't know that at the time. And it was 7:30 at night. And man, I was just so annoyed because, you go to the emergency room. It's not like you're just hanging out there for an hour. And I live in Central Mass, and our hospital systems are pretty busy, and our emergency rooms are pretty busy this right now. I'm sure it's that way everywhere. But 7:30 at night, got there at 8 o'clock. Like, I picked him up and we got there at 8 o'clock, and we didn't get in to actually be seen until midnight. And then they went through their tests and they determined everything is fine and it's a normal complication post-op. And they sent us home, and I had to bring him home, and I had to help him change and get back into bed. And then I got home at 4 a.m. and I was just dead exhausted. And it just got me thinking, because so often it can be like I was so comfortable on my couch. I was ready to do my notes from the day. I was ready to watch my General Hospital, which is my guilty pleasure. And then I got the phone call, and I got angsty inside. But as I processed it this morning, and I did have to take some time off from work because there's no way I could function going in and doing what I needed to do first thing in the morning. I needed to kind of wrap my head around the day and get some other work done. So I went in late to work, and I'm very lucky that I work for a company that allows me to do that. But as I was thinking, like, it was such a sacrifice. I sacrificed my time to go care for my dad. And when I look at it that way, it was a well worth it sacrifice. Like, I want to be there and help my dad. I want to be there to help my parents. And sometimes I have to sacrifice doing things that make me comfortable, that make me happy, to be able to go and do that. And that made me think, cheerleading, like, we have to do that. If we want to be better at something, if we want our kids to really enjoy it, if we want to take them to the best places, the best all-star gyms around, and we have to drive an hour or longer sometimes to get there, it's a sacrifice. Your kids have to show up every week. It's a sacrifice for them to be there. And when something is really important and means a lot to you, you're going to sacrifice to make that other person happy, or to make that event happen. So if somebody wants to get a back handspring, and they're like, I don't want to put the work in, or they're putting the work in, but they're not really doing the extra outside, and they're not pushing themselves to get strong, powerful legs, and really figure out where their core needs to work, and stretching out their hips so they have that mobility, but they're not doing that on a regular basis. They're going to take a little longer. They have to sacrifice and do the work at home. Conditioning can't always happen at a cheer gym. A lot of times it doesn't, because you've got choreography and you've got practicing stunts and progressing stunts. You can't do your strength and conditioning at practice. And you shouldn't be doing it before practice, because you're going to be tired when you go to actually practice. So when do you fit it in? You have to sacrifice, and you have to make that time. Maybe the kids have to get up a little bit early in the morning to get a workout in. It's 3 times a week that they need to get a lift in. That's not that bad. Maybe if you are sacrificing your time and your energy and your life to drive your kids to practices and competitions, and you're flying everywhere. So maybe you have to, and you sacrifice your own health in that process. I do think there is a limit on that. Like, you can't sacrifice your own health to take care of somebody else. I recognize that I needed to sleep in this morning. I didn't get up and do a workout, which I really wanted to do, but I needed to catch up on my sleep and kind of decompress after all the stress of running my dad out and to the hospital, and is he going to be okay, and what else could be wrong, and being there until 4 a.m. I had to sacrifice my workout today to rest, and for me today, that was the right answer. Now I need to get up tomorrow morning and push myself and make the sacrifice so that I get my workout back in. I dial in my eating. Like, there are things that are in my control that I sacrifice the chocolate and the Reese's today at camp, at work, um, to be able to, keep my body functioning. Trying to drink a little bit more water. Sometimes that's a sacrifice. It should be a good sacrifice that we're drinking more water, but giving up like sugary drinks. If you want to have health and fitness and you want to feel good, then don't get the big, huge dunk iced coffee, filled with lots of cream and sugar. Maybe get a small black coffee with maybe a splash of milk, and maybe you make that sacrifice so you take care of your health and you prioritize sleep. You prioritize healthy eating, like getting your fruits and vegetables in, like not overeating, but eating smaller meals. And you eat your protein in every meal, and you have healthy carbohydrates. We don't have to sacrifice everything. It's okay to have ice cream on occasion, but we can't do it every day. And it's okay to have cookies and pizza on occasion, but we can't have that 3 meals a day or even every day. So we have to make that sacrifice to keep our bodies running efficiently and feeling better, and and keep pushing. If we want to get stronger so that we have the strength to be able to hold up a 2.5 high pyramid, we have to do that work. Or to be able to hold your flyers as they're flipping over your head, and landing in cradles, we need to be strong. We need, so we have to do that work, and we need our body to be functioning well. And that does require sometimes sacrificing the fun and the glorious and the amazing ring dings, something along that lines. I think you get my point on that. I remember being back in school, and college, and my last 2 years at Northeastern is when we started to compete. We hadn't competed before that. And because we competed that time, we were competing NCAA, and we were in Dallas, and the competition was actually the first weekend in January. So we were required to stay on campus through break. We got to go home for the holidays, but then we had to be back on campus so that we could continue to practice. We had to sacrifice our time with our family to be back at practice and to put that work in. We couldn't be out partying all the time. At the night, we had to show up in the morning and be at practice and be ready to go. My coach at the time was like, we had some skiers on the team who wanted to be away skiing, and I didn't learn how to ski until after college, so that didn't affect me as much. But she told you cannot ski until we are through with competition, because it might risk an injury. If they wipe out and fall and tear an ACL like I did after, that would change the entire routine. And as a team, we had to make that sacrifice not to do outside sports and other things that might put us at risk of an injury during our competition season. So those have always stuck with me. Like, they were sacrifices, and we were all willing to make them. I mean, we grumbled, just like I grumbled last night, when picking up my dad. Like, we grumbled, but like, it was something that we absolutely wanted, and we wanted to continue to move forward and to progress. So we knew we had to make it happen, and that sacrifice was worth it. And I think that's what I want you to have as a takeaway. The activity that you're looking to do and that you want to progress, only you can determine if it's worth it. And if it's worth it, if it's worth the extra energy and the sacrifice of your, eating well, or the sacrifice of giving up a second sport so that you can stay safe, or the sacrifice of putting in extra time to get yourself strong, and the sacrifice of getting a good night's sleep instead of staying up late to do your homework. All of that's a sacrifice. If your goal is worth it and you are really into it, then it's worth the sacrifice. If not, give it up. Why push yourself? Like, find the things in life that are worth sacrificing for. It's okay if your kid decides that they don't want to put the effort in, then maybe the sacrifice isn't worth it to them and the goal is not worth it to them. So give them some slack. Let them give it up. Let them find something else that makes them passionate enough to put the extra effort in, to make them feel like they really want it and they can make that sacrifice. We do it for our family because we love our family, and we sacrifice outside things to be able to be there and support our family. And we do it because we support our family. That's a team. But again, if you're not feeling that love and you're not feeling that drive and that inner push, then you're not going to achieve your goals and you're not going to feel solid doing it. So that's my lesson for the day. If you want some guidelines, we're coming into fall season. And I know All Star has been back in, and I know choreography is kind of running pretty solid now, and high school is just about to start up, at least here in the Northeast, and it's going to really ramp up. So if you remember at the beginning of the summertime, we talked about, and when my book came out, the Strength and Conditioning for Cheer Athlete book, there's periodization in the off season, which was now, because we're not competing now, even though you're still there. That was a time to really solidly build, work on your plyometrics, really push yourself hard. Now we're going to transition into fall season, and we're not necessarily pushing to get your plyometric jumps and pushing. We can still push some, but we may go a little bit lighter. Maybe we're not as frequent. Maybe we are dialing it back, especially as we start into, we're at games and we are pushing into choreography and really learning the routine and getting that ready. You still need to strength train. You still need to at least minimum get it in twice a week. I'd like to see you getting it 3 times a week. And maybe you're doing low impact jumping or smaller jumps to keep the power up, but you're not necessarily doing high box jumps and really pushing yourself to fatigue. Now we got to build on this, what we built through the summer, and keep progressing. So you can change your frequency, you can change your rep range, do it so that you are continuing, you get those workouts in, and while you get into practice and season and all that. If you want more information about that, you can absolutely reach out. I wrote about periodization and kind of gave a sample of when things should change as an idea for cheer. Everything is flexible and maneuverable, but as we're coming in, we just come, like the summer season is really the time to really build and push hard and gain strength. The fall is, we want to continue to build on that, but it's not necessarily as aggressive of routines and working out, but it's getting a little bit stronger and maybe upping your weight a little bit, maybe upping your rep range a little bit. And then the winter, when we get into high choreography or high competition season, we're going to dial it back and kind of ride that wave into the final end of competition towards the spring. So changing that every, I think for cheer, if you can aim for like a 6 to 12 week time frame, it depends on what you're doing outside. But if we think on the whole year, and you think, 4 12-week periods, that's a great time that you can really build and change your routine around. And every 6 weeks you can do that. And that, so if you want to learn more about that, I talked about that in the book, and that's on Amazon. You can find it. If you have, I'll leave the link in the show notes. And if you want to just talk about any of the questions in the, any, concerns about where you're at in periodization, please reach out to me. On Instagram is probably the best place for you to reach me, but you can also email me at laura@movebetter.com, movebetterllc.com. So make those sacrifices. Think about starting to change your workouts as you're getting into fall season and really building on the strength that you've accumulated from the summer. Start hydrating now, because those summer practices are going to be tough, and keep your mobility going at the same time. All right, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you have a topic that you'd like to talk about, or if you want to talk about something that has been a sacrifice and you're not sure if, like, should I sacrifice doing this to continue on with cheer, please don't hesitate to reach out. Like, I love to have conversation on Instagram and let's just talk. All right, that's it for this week's episode of the Cheer Athlete Podcast. I hope you have a great week ahead. Don't forget, when in doubt, breathe it out. Take life one step at a time. You can do anything you put your mind to. And as my friend Drew Kelleher said, you're responsible for your own vibes. Let's go get the day.